Welcome back to Territory Wars Explained collaboration series from, of course, Skelturix and speaking yours truly, Nukin. We are so glad that you guys are digging this series, and it helps to motivate us to push through and keep pumping a video out every single day about Territory Wars. After watching, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and leave us a comment down below, whether it's just some appreciation or if you have any feedback. We love to hear from you guys. We love reading all the comments. So we're gonna get right into it. In today's third rendition of TW Explained, we're gonna be covering the Nightsisters. So as you saw in our last episode, in episode 2, that you can use the Nightsisters on offense to counter the resistance. They're also a very strong defensive team, so a very meta TW team. In guild GP brackets of 120 million or more, you're gonna start using these guys probably on offense or start placing them on defense. There are multiple variants, but the standard sort of Nightsister variant has a difficulty level of easy for farming because there are multiple characters in stores, and also you have multiple characters that are in the cantina on low energy nodes, so they have an easy difficulty level. Also, the Nightsister Zombie does not necessarily need to be 7 stars to be very effective in TW, so they have an easy difficulty level there. For difficulty for beating them, it's around a medium difficulty because they are quite tricky. After that zombie rework, they are even stronger than ever before, and some variants can be also exceptionally tricky if you don't come prepared. So that is going to be the Nightsisters. We're going to jump right into the team here because there are no passive bonuses in TW for them, but they are that strong that they don't even need one of those. So we're going to start off with our leader of the team, Asajj Ventress. Asajj Ventress is an amazing leader of the Nightsister faction. Now, Skelly and I did come to a consensus here, and we thought about it in comparing Asajj Ventress to Mother Talzin, and we think that Asajj Ventress in just about every single situation, including the Nest variant, that Asajj Ventress was the strongest leader for Territory Wars. And so Asajj Ventress is labeled as a support character. She has 2 Zetas. She does hit just about as hard as an attacker, especially if you have both of her Zetas. We definitely recommend and are requiring a Nightsister Swiftness Zeta that's on her leadership ability. This is going to allow the Nightsister faction to do a bunch of things, like probably go first in the battle with a 30 starting flat speed boost, an offense boost, a 50% turn meter boost whenever they fall below 100% health, which is quite often, and pesky turn meter removal, which can get quite annoying. We think that the Rampage Zeta is going to be more of an optional Zeta. I think that you could do it and it's going to help you for sure, but there's not enough time to really ramp up her damage too much, so it's more of going to be an optional Zeta, but it's definitely very strong Sith Raid Zeta if you're interested into that type of stuff. Going into the modding, you're going to actually want to mod her for a critical damage set, so 4 critical damage mods. You're going to want to put offense and speed secondaries on those mods, and you're also going to want to put a critical damage triangle. This is going to be very strong because she's going to hit quite hard. Like, she's labeled as a support character, but she does do a bunch of damage. Moving on to Mother Talzin, another support character that hits quite hard just like an attacker. She has 2 Zetas as well, but since we're using Asajj Ventress in the leadership position, do not worry about her leadership Zeta, but we are highly recommending putting a Zeta on her unique. That is going to allow her to get a bunch of turn meter throughout the battle, which will allow her to cycle through her turns and do a bunch of damage with her basic attacks, spreading out that plague and potentially using her specials multiple times, which are very powerful throughout the battle. Modding wise, since she does hit quite hard, a critical damage set with a critical damage triangle is going to be preferred, but if you cannot get her critical chance high enough, then you should go for an offense mod set. Regardless, you should run a 2-piece critical chance set and try to aim for the critical chance secondaries no matter what. You want to run a potency cross so you can have a higher opportunity of landing plague. You lose that 50% potency buff when you're not running her in a leadership position, so it is nice to get some extra potency, and you're aiming for also some damage offense secondaries as well. She can hit very hard under the Asajj Ventress leadership. Moving on to old Daka, another support character, and she is kind of very basic and she has one single Zeta, but most of us actually ended up getting it refunded if we even gave her one, and it is actually not required to give her a Zeta. It's going to be listed as optional. It may help you a little bit in the raid still, but it's not going to be a TW related Zeta, so do not need to give her a Zeta there. Modding wise, there are several ways to mod her, but the concept is basically going to be health, 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 and speed. So you can run a speed set and a health set, or you can run what we are recommending here, 3 different 2-piece health sets. So 6 different health mods, health primaries across the board, circle, triangle, and cross. Make sure you have a bunch of health primaries on her for sure. So if you have any protection percentage primaries, be sure to swap over to health percentage. Her main role in the team is just to make sure that she revives people, and even though she has a stun on her basic, the health on her cross is way more important than a potency cross, so definitely give her just a bunch of health. Moving on to the tank of the team, we have Nightsister Zombie. Now Nightsister Zombie is better than ever before. She recently got reworked, but keep in mind you do need to take her up to at least gear 10 to get that brand new ability. We'll cover that in just a second. Now Zeta wise, she has no Zeta abilities, so do not worry about that. There are no Zetas to recommend. Modding wise, we want to give her speed and health. That's going to be the name of the game, so we are recommending either a speed set with a 2-piece health set or 6 different health mods. Regardless of what you decide to choose, you want to run health primaries across the board, so health percentage, circles, triangles, and crosses. You're looking for speed and health on those secondaries as well, and that's going to synergize because her new rework special is based off her max health. More health gains are going to actually have a higher opportunity to have your Nightsisters go back up to 100% health, and then when they drop below 100% health, they're going to be getting that 50% turn meter all over again, so that's going to be awesome. So you do want to take her up to gear 10 to get that brand new ability, which helps her to revive 2 fallen allies and sort of resets the speed stacking, so that's going to be also very good. Now there is going to be a process of finding the right balance of a Nightsister Zombie gear level. Is that gear 10? Is it gear 11? Is it gear 12? Is it gear 12 plus? And it seems like the tankiest zombies are gonna be the strongest for territory wars. So since she is absorbing a bunch of damage, and as you gear her up, she gets more health, and that really just synergizes with her kit. Also at gear 12 plus, you do get those 2 items that make her even tankier and harder to get through and to kill. And then you can also get 12 plus speed from those gear pieces, and speed is also part of the name of the game. Every time she takes a turn, she's going to activate taunt. So very, very good tank for the Nightsister team. Last but not least, one more character to recommend, and surprise, surprise, she is not a Nightsister. We have Enfys Nest. Now Nest is a scoundrel attacker, and you may be wondering and confused, why are we putting Nest with the Nightsisters? Well, Skelly and I do recommend putting her here because she is going to make almost any team better. It's a no-brainer to put her on defense, but across TW defense, there really only is 2 teams where she excels on the most, and besides a scoundrel team where there's actually enough scoundrels now where they can be viable without Nest, you can actually put Nest on another team, and it makes most sense to put her on this Nightsister team. It takes the Nightsisters to a whole nother level when you start making a full Nightsister faction team and putting in little counters to the counters, and is very disruptive, and it makes it even more difficult to counter the Nightsisters on offense. She has 1 Zeta, and we are advising to do that on Nest, but it's not mandatory. And for modding purposes, the name of the game is speed. If you can get Nest over 300 plus speed, definitely go for it. Do your best, run a speed set, crit damage triangle, and then for the primary on the cross, just try and get the cross that has the fastest speed. Secondaries, you just want her to go very, very quickly. She has AoE daze, she has dispel on her basic. Daka can revive her if they try to kill her first. It's just really a big pain to have to fight Nest regardless of where she is, and it's going to make this Nightsister team even more difficult to take out. Now that we covered the team recommendations, Skelly and I do have some replacement substitution options for you guys, whether you do not have the characters ready to go or you don't even have them at all. We do have some substitutions, and first off, if you do not want to run Ness or you don't have her ready and you want to run a pure Nightsister team, the best Nightsister to put in replace of Ness, it's going to be Talia. Talia is a very good Nightsister. She has healing capabilities, cleansing capabilities, some controlling capabilities, and actually if you boost her damage high enough, she can hit quite hard as well. So that is going to be a pure Nightsister team, Talia, for that spot. Now there's also another position spot where we can actually put in General Kenobi, and you may actually wonder, why are we putting two tanks? We already have Nightsister Zombie. Well, two disruptive tanks actually is also more annoying than one sometimes, and Kenobi actually can be put on a Nightsister Asajj Ventress leadership, and it's going to actually do quite well as well. And usually sometimes whenever you take out Kenobi, Daka will revive that Kenobi a lot of the times during the course of the battle, and having to kill General Kenobi twice is actually kind of annoying. The last potential replacement that you could put on this team is a Zeta Barriss. Zarrus is going to be quite annoying as well, because with her Zeta, she's going to make it very annoying to take out Zombie on the team, and especially with the synergy that she brings. Whenever they're critically hit, they're going to gain health, and that could potentially bring the Nightsisters back up to 100% health to re-get that 50% turn meter boost from Asajj Ventress leadership. She also has some cleansing capabilities as well, so it's kind of like a single target cleanse, which is kind of the reason why Talia is also quite good. Can get rid of that daze potentially, or buff immunity on Nightsister Zombie, etc. And so that is going to be another decent option to run in replace of Enfys Ness. Now that we reviewed how to place Nightsisters on defense, what happens when you run across them on TW offense day? How do you counter these ladies? Well, we have 4 different teams that we want to discuss here, and our first counter is gonna be the Bounty Hunters. A Jango Fett lead with Boba Fett on the team is going to be very good against the Nightsisters. So one of the reasons why the Nightsisters are so good is because they can take a beating, and there's a lot of revive potential. So old Daka can revive, Zombie can actually revive 2 different Nightsisters, and then Mother Talzin has a conditional revive, and then there's a 4th conditional revive if you're running across a Zated Mother Talzin leadership. So with all this revive potential, things can actually go downhill very quickly when you thought you were just about to win the match. The thing that's good about the Bounty Hunters is that you can actually quickly complete the contract. It's not too hard, not too difficult to do, and with the power of Boba Fett's execute ability that prevents revives, and any Nightsister that's killed on Jango Fett's turn is also not going to be able to be revived, and that can also be done with just a basic attack. One last thing to mention about this team is that we see Bossk here, but that is actually not necessary. You do not need Bossk to still win this battle. So if you want to place a Bossk Bounty Hunter team on defense, or use it on offense with some sort of hybrid variation of 2 or 3 Bounty Hunters and then some other sort of meta units, that is also entirely definitely possible. Our second counter here is going to be the Bastila Jedi team. So now that Revan is in the game, you can actually have multiple Jedi teams if you so desire, potentially even a 3rd Jedi team, but that might be stretching it a little bit. So against the Nightsisters, these Jedi are going to be very good. You can actually run multiple different variants. Right now we're running a Kenobi and a Jolie Bindo on the team with both Yodas, but you don't necessarily need to have all these Jedi present. You can have different variations. Just make sure that you are not spreading yourself too thin if you're going to go and do this, and also have a Revan team. Now, the trick to this is actually just to out-sustain the Nightsisters. There's enough sort of healing potential and also revive potential with a Zeta on Bindo. You can revive any Jedi that end up dying, which is going to be very good. Also make sure that you keep on doing the basic attacks to reduce the cooldown of that if you're going to use it, or just be cautious and try not to use it prematurely. You want to do it right before the battle is about to end to maximize those banner points. You want to end the battle with every single Jedi alive. So the technique here is also to make sure that you're looking at the variant that you're facing. If there's a Nest, for example, she's very tricky to take out, and you're going to need to have have a damage dealer like Grandmaster Yoda or Ezra Bridger, someone that hits very hard to one-shot her once her protection is whittled down and she's just down to her health pool. That's going to be very important. So the Jedi are very effective. It is going to be kind of a grindy battle, but there is enough sustain to make it work. Our next counter, we have the Imperial Troopers, this time with a General Veers lead with Ranged Trooper and geared up to the max. Pretty much Imperial Troopers, well modded, etc. You can take out a Nightsister team and it's going to be very easy, about a 30 to 60 second battle. But I want to make sure, disclaimer, nope, make sure that you pay attention to this. You need to have very strong Imperial Troopers, well modded troopers, Ranged Trooper as well in here to be able to do this. Don't think just because you have these guys unlocked and they're gear 11 that you're going to be able to take out a Nightsister team. This is also especially true if they have a Zeta Barris or an Enfys Nest, one of those variants that we were talking about. The Imperial Troopers will not be able to take that out. So now that wraps up our third counter. We have one more to go, and this is going to be a Palpatine-led sort of Empire Sith hybrid team, and we're going to be including Palpatine with Vader, that kind of duo combo. We have Tarkin Shore Trooper and Wampa. Now for this team, it's very important that you include Shore Trooper because he has the capability of cleansing the plague by doing his taunt special, which also heals based off his max health. So with a well-modded Shore Trooper with a bunch of health, he should be able to help recover the Empire team back up to full HP. Palpatine can also heal himself to full, and whenever you're doing debuffs, they should be also healing whenever they're doing their abilities. For example, when Darth Vader does his Force Crush, he should heal himself back up to full as well. Wampa is also very strong, dazing the Asajj Ventress leadership Nightsister teams are going to be very good because that's going to prevent their turn meter generation, and Wampa is also strong enough to take out an Enfys Nest if there's an Enfys Nest on the team. So this is an effective team as well. Make sure that if there's also taunts, multiple taunts like General Kenobi, you can apply shock with Emperor Palpatine and prevent Kenobi and Zombie from taunting, because that prevents any sort of buffs flying on top of their heads. So that's going to be very good. So this is an effective counter, but just be very careful because anything can happen and you can kind of snowball backwards. But this is going to be the most sort of consistent Empire Sith hybrid team that you can run to counter the Nightsisters. So that wraps up some of our suggested counters for taking out the Nightsisters on offense. Now, Skelly and I are fully aware that there are other teams that can work here as well. You know, Darth Traya can pretty much take out almost any team, Revan can as well, etc. But if you want to use another team that's sort of somewhat efficient, you can use Commander Luke Skywalker and some rebels like Chirrut and Baze and Captain Han Solo, for example. There's also the Phoenix Squad. When you gear them up to gear 12 and put some Zetas on them, suddenly they can also kind of duke out with the Nightsisters, even potentially if they have a nest in there. So there are other teams out there that can also beat the Nightsisters. And with that, that wraps up our third episode of Territory Wars Explained. And Skelly and I just want to thank everyone so much for the positive feedback. Thanks everyone for watching. Keep coming back for more. Tomorrow we're going to be doing an episode, I believe, on the bounty hunters, so that should be pretty exciting as well. Make sure to leave us a comment down below and give us a thumbs up on this video, and stay tuned for more Territory Wars content.